This is The Busy Type, unfiltered conversations about all things life and business. We talk about the wins, the fails, and everything in between. So settle in, it's time to get busy. Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Busy Type podcast. I'm your host, Ronique Barber. I am an entrepreneur. I have a freelance copywriting business called Virtual Favor, as well as an e-commerce business called Lazy Face, which is a vegan skincare line. Welcome back, guys. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the news, the media, with still everything going on with COVID. It's still very present, so I hope you guys are being aware of that. I've been laying low since, I think, Easter. The last time I really went outside anywhere, which was just to the grocery store, was Easter. So that was the beginning of April, and now we're midway through June. Yeah, I hope you guys are staying low and, still wearing your mask if you are going out and being safe, washing your hands as much as possible. And obviously everything that we discussed on the last episode, still protesting, still a lot going on there as well. I wanted to just briefly mention that I had the opportunity to collaborate with a web designer, well, she's a designer in general, from London on a Black Lives Matter fundraiser. So I was able to write the slogans for these cute tote bags, raising funds for Black Lives Matter, as well as the NAACP. So they're actually very cheap. The bags, they're not expensive. A lot of the times when you purchase tote bags for a donation or for fundraisers, you'll see that they're $50 a bag, but these are actually in US dollars they're $13.50, and I think in euros they're $12. I'll link the website for those so you guys can pre-order them. They're up for pre-sale now. She's trying to get an accurate amount of orders to see what needs to actually be produced. So definitely check those out. They're very cute tote bags, and it's nice to just if you want to donate, but you also want to have something to represent the cause, that's a great option. So I will link that in the show notes. But yeah, okay. So today we're going to be talking a bit about how to find clients as a freelancer. So, and this can go for any industry as well, even if you're not, I guess it really is for freelance, but if you're just looking to find, new clients for your business, even if it is an agency style business, just if you're looking to find clients for an online digital business, these will be some helpful tips for you. So right now, most of my clients are coming through, if I search them all back and track everything, most of them are coming through Facebook. I've noticed, most of my clients are coming through Facebook right now. It's really nice to find clients through Facebook. I definitely appreciate it. But I think my ideal way to find clients, it will always be just word of mouth. I guess it's a lot less work when you're finding people through word of mouth. Obviously, they're typically coming to you. You don't have to do anything other than build great reliant relationships with the clients that you already have. That's how I would ideally like to find every client, is through word of mouth, because I know they know what to expect with me. They have a general idea of my rates and my entire process. So that would be ideal for me. But like I said, right now, it's mostly coming through Facebook. So when I say that, it doesn't just mean that it's me messaging people on Facebook. I obviously do message people on Facebook, but I never seek out people just cold through Facebook, okay? That's not something that I do. I don't just spam people with my services on Facebook. That to me is not, I'm all about cold emailing, but I don't feel comfortable doing that through Facebook. So it's always through Facebook groups that I'm reaching out to people if they're looking for copywriting. That's how someone will make a post in a group somewhere, or say that either their client or themselves is looking for a copywriter. And then, we all have seen it. It's like a free-for-all. You'll see 50 people all commenting on the same post, trying to be the one person to get the job. It's nice. I've definitely gotten jobs that way. But the only thing about that is that, like I said, there's so many people posting for the same job. So it's very similar to me, if you're applying just for any jobs on a job board, if you were going to Indeed or Craigslist or something. There's just a lot of competition. So it's a nice way to, like, if you are a freelancer and you want to start getting jobs today, like hopping on Facebook and joining business groups is a great way to get started. But just know that there's always going to be a lot of competition. With that said, it's a great way to get your name out there. Okay, so that's how I'm currently getting the majority of my clients, are through me directly responding to people's posts about looking for copywriters, or people who have seen my post. Like if I've commented on someone else's post, that's the thing that I do like about it. And I always am sure to link my website, is because if I post on someone, like if someone's looking for a copywriter and I post and link my website, maybe someone else who is also looking for a copywriter will see that post and then reach out to me from there. Other ways this happens is if there's a web designer, for example, looking for their client, like if their client says, oh, I'm also going to need help with copy, do you know anybody that can help? Those people will post in the groups and say, my client needs help, and either give like direct access to the client through their email, or they'll kind of collect a list of people of referrals and refer you. So that's a nice way. And it also, you kind of get that warm connection rather than someone just looking through your things, because you've been referred to the client through someone else. Even if that person doesn't directly know you, they've kind of like scoped out your stuff online ahead of time and, pass that information along. I guess I'll just go through, I wrote a blog post about how to find freelance clients that actually like fit you, instead of just random clients that maybe aren't your ideal or your target client. But I'll just kind of run through some tips that I've found and some things that are a bit uncommon. So we always hear like the same things of, like I just was talking about, going on Facebook and just like spamming people and being like, hey, is anyone looking for a copywriter? Does anyone need any help? And like every time someone like even slightly mentions your field, you're like all over it. But the only thing with that is that it does take a lot of work. Not that that's bad. It's obviously great to work. It's great to network and put your name out there. The more your name gets put out there, the more it'll kind of like circle back and people will remember, especially if you're posting all day long. But there are other ways that don't involve constantly scrolling through Facebook. Some of these do involve some scrolling, but it's a bit uncommon. So I'll tell you some of my other favorite ways. You can reach out to YouTubers or influencers that your ideal client would follow. So when I say this, it's not just like reaching out to those YouTubers or influencers that you like and following them and like trying to ask them for work. That's something that you can do. But I recommend, like, let's say you are an online health coach and you watch a lot of like health influencers on YouTube, or you follow them on Instagram or whatever, Twitter, wherever, mostly I would assume Instagram. But if you're following a lot of people and you're watching their content and you're like, oh, this person, like if it's a food blogger and maybe they make like healthy recipes and you love checking out their content, typically the people that you would want to work with are going to be watching that content too. Those are the people that like they're looking for these healthy recipes. And maybe you just watch it because you enjoy it. They are watching it because they need the help. Let's say you're watching like a fitness YouTuber or a health YouTuber, a food blogger, whatever. They're not offering services. Like their job is to provide content, but they're not actually offering those services, and you are. So you can look through and see like the comments of people on those YouTube videos. Like if you're watching like a 5 healthy snacks video and you see someone says like, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, these are great healthy snacks. You can be, if you're like a health coach and you make meal plans, that's an ideal person. Maybe they'll need help. Maybe you can create a meal plan for them. So I think just kind of scrolling through, not the influencers, not the YouTubers, but the people that are following them, and kind of checking out what things that they're saying. And if they're saying something like, oh, I'm trying to start my journey, or things like that, like those little key signs you can look through and say like, oh, this is a person I can slide in their DMs and see if they may need some help. It can feel a little shady because you're just reaching out blindly and you don't know these people. Just mention how you found them. Like, don't be afraid to say like, oh, I saw you commented on so-and-so's video or so-and-so's post, and I just wanted to reach out because I offer these services. I saw that you were needing a little help with that. Just wanted to let you know that I'm available if you need some help. So don't, it's not sketchy, but it's literally you and that influencer have the same audience. You have the same ideal client, except they're not providing the service, they're providing content, and you're providing the service. So it's almost like you're teaming up with them without them realizing it. So that's a great, unique way. It does take a little bit of work, but if you're bored and you don't have clients, and like, what else are you doing? So just especially if you're watching those videos, or if you're following somebody on Instagram and you're just kind of like scrolling through, checking things out anyway, it doesn't hurt to just peek and see what may be there. That's a good way. As I said, okay, cold emailing is something that I do. I don't mind doing it. I like it. The past few weeks I've kind of gotten behind. I did have myself on a schedule where I was doing at least like 5 cold emails a day just to get myself in the habit and to continue to keep my name out there, because once you get in the habit, it can take a while. I did luck out, like my first time cold emailing, like I got a response back pretty quickly from like a brand that I liked. That was lucky for me, and I had like reached out to 4 people and then one of those 4 reached out. So, that's not always going to happen. A lot of the times people will say like it takes like 100 emails to get 1 response. So in order to if you actually want to get responses from cold emails, like you got to do a lot. When you're doing cold emails, make sure that you put yourself on a schedule. Don't just decide like I'm going to randomly just cold email today and then I'm not going to do it again for a month. Like say I'm going to do 20 a week or 10 a week or 5 a week, whatever is a reasonable amount for you. That's what you should do. But make sure you put yourself on a schedule. So then like every day, the way I like to do it is just like start the day out that way, because it's not that I don't like doing the emails. I don't mind doing the emails. It's just like the process behind it of like finding the emails, finding the contacts, doing a little bit of research to get everything together. So that's the part that it can be a bit time consuming. So just kind of put yourself on a schedule. If that's something that's going to completely blow the day for you and you're going to feel drained, put it at the end of your day. If it's not and you're like, okay, I just want to get it over with so I can move on to like fun client work or whatever, do it at the beginning of the day. But either way, put yourself on a schedule and decide how many that you're going to do every day. Or even if you're going to just do it once a week, like whatever it is, just set the schedule so that you already have your expectations. With cold emailing, I say to cold email the brands that you know and love. When you're first starting out, reach out to the brands that you genuinely, authentically, you use their products, you like, even if it's something like Meet Edgar. I'm saying this because they just commented on one of my Facebook, on my Instagram. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. Meet Edgar just like followed me. And I haven't personally used Meet Edgar yet. I use Later, which is, if you guys aren't familiar, it's like a scheduling tool. So like Later, Buffer, Meet Edgar. So I thought it was pretty cool that they liked and followed me. So that just made me think of like, oh, that's a potential opportunity for me to reach out to them because they liked one of my posts and some of the content that I provided on it. I say to make sure that you're just genuinely interacting with brands that you like. So if there's a certain like protein drink, like if you're a fellow writer, we'll just say, and there's like a protein powder or something that you always love, like you have it every morning, check out that company and see if they have a blog. Maybe that's a blog that you can provide content for. Stick with brands that you actually use, because then when you're reaching out to them, it's going to be so genuine. Like you're not going to be reaching for something to say. You're not going to be reaching to be like, oh yeah, I just want to help you with I want to offer you this service. I want to do this. Like if it's genuine, you'll be excited and you can sense that through the writing. I will say if you're cold emailing and you are a writer, like it's basically like your email is like an audition. So make sure that, if you're saying, oh, I provide like personality filled blog posts, like, and your email to them has no personality and it just seems standard and like a stock email almost, that they're going to be like, oh, sure you do. Like you provide a lot of personality. Just be aware of, what you're saying when you're emailing these companies. No matter what type of job that you do, whether you're a designer, whether you sell products, like even if you're reaching out to companies that you'd like to see if they want to purchase wholesale from you, like make sure if it's like a store that you, like I have products obviously for Lazy Face, and for me, like there's a local natural health food store that I used to work at. To me, love the store, like it's a co-op. I really love it. That's an ideal company to carry my products. Like that's something that I'm genuinely excited about. There's a local like Black owned business, like health food store that I think would be a great option. That's something that I'm like excited about. It's not just like a place where I'm like, oh, whatever. Yeah. That's another place that could carry my products. Or, oh, that's another place that maybe I could work with. Try to keep it as authentic and as genuine as possible. Obviously, when you start to do massive numbers of cold emails, you can get a little bit burned out, and maybe there's just not that many companies that you're familiar with. But if you really just start like scoping out your house, like even if you're a web designer, every company needs a website, right? So look in your house and be like, oh, I use this toothpaste. This is my favorite toothpaste. Let's check out this company. Like, is there something going on with their website? Could it improve? Do they maybe need some help? Even if you're like a coach, like maybe their team may need some coaching. So just think of like genuine brands that you work with, so that when you reach out, that you want to work with, because when you reach out to them, they'll be able to sense the like genuine, authentic, organic connection that you're bringing in. It's not just like, oh, hey, you're a company that makes a lot of money, so maybe you can like give me some of it. Just try to keep it very real and authentic. I feel like I've said authentic a million times. Sorry, everyone, just be authentic. Yeah, so just reach out to those brands that you know and love, especially when you're first starting out cold emailing, if you're a little bit scared and nervous, because I know it can feel that way. I don't feel nervous at all through the internet. I feel extremely nervous in person. Like I would never be able to, well, I don't want to say never because I'm sure I could, but I don't feel comfortable like calling or going into a company being like, hey, I'm just popping in. I want to pitch this idea to you. But through like email, I'm unstoppable. Like I'll keep going. I will follow up a million times. With that being said, be sure to follow up. A lot of the times, I don't think people even open the emails until you do a follow up. So every time you follow up, just make sure you hit reply. And then so it'll show like reply, because people get so tricked. They think that they've replied to you and that it's like an ongoing email just because they see that RE colon in the subject line. Always follow up. I think no later than a week. I like a follow up within like 3 days, just because they'll see that like, oh, this person's not giving up. Like if they ignored the email, they'll be like, oh, and there they are again. So even if they're going to turn you down, just like I would rather get turned down than nothing. But I only do 2 follow-ups. I don't like to keep going, because at that point, I know they've seen it. They're just choosing not to respond. And I never want to kind of become like a negative thought in someone's mind. I don't go past 2 follow-ups. I do 2 follow-ups and I do them pretty quickly. That's it. I move on. So you should be emailing several companies anyway. So you shouldn't be so stuck on that. But flag the emails in your outbox, in your sent emails, flag them so that you can be like, okay, that's a person I need to respond to. And then you can go through, and once you've responded, did like a follow-up email, then just unflag them, so that there you go, it's over. And you can keep track of what you're doing and who you've talked to, and so that you're not following up over and over again. And I will say, don't be afraid to send a semi-lengthy email. I'm not talking like 1,000 words. I hear a lot of people say like keep it really short, like a sentence or 2, but I've gotten the most response when I've kept them in like the 200 to 400 word range. So like I always start out with a compliment. I always talk about some genuine connection with the company. Even for the companies that I have reached out to that I did not know that well, I looked into it and found like an issue, like a common theme between us and how my business connects to their business. So always compliment, do a connection point, and keep, a little bit longer. Explain a little bit what you'll do for them and how you can help them. Make it more about them than you. But I will do an entire episode about cold emailing. I have a blog post that I've been working on and trying to make sure I include the most current information. I will do a post about that, and as well as an episode about that. So keep an eye out if you're really interested in how to cold email. All right, moving on and kind of circling back to Facebook. So Facebook groups, like I said, can be a great place to find people, especially your target audience, your ideal clients. But with Facebook, it can also, like I was saying earlier, become kind of like a free-for-all. Like one person will make a post, and I've seen times where there's been like 200 comments on one post for one job, and it can be a bit discouraging, but it can also just make everybody feel, I don't know, it's like you're on fire. Like everyone's like, oh, but I can do this, I'm the best in my field at that, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, have a standard pitch. Okay, when you're just on general business groups on Facebook, have a standard pitch that you use. Like for me, for Virtual Favor, which is my copywriting company, I always say I write words that sound like the voice in your customer's head. That's my go-to. Like I research to say the things that your customers are feeling on the inside, their actual pain points, their actual problems. I find that through research. It can be a lot to say like, well, I research and I do this and I go through your competitors and I blah, 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 blah. That can be a lot, especially if they have a lot of comments on that post. It can kind of get lost in the sea of people. Have your standard pitch. I like to keep it to one line. So I help blank. So who do you help? Like if you help female entrepreneurs, if you help like moms, if you help whoever it is, like big brands, like, or new businesses or startups or tech companies, whatever it is, you need to know who you help, right? That's why this whole section is about finding clients that fit you and not just clients, like any random client. You say, I help whatever type of person that you help, whatever person or company that you help, do blank. I help brands and modern brands and entrepreneurs, blank. For me, the blank is write words that blank. And for me, it's that write words that sound like the voice in their customer's head. So you kind of have to have this like one succinct, clear sentence, exactly getting to the point of what you do, how you can help them. So that's my first thing I would say when you're going on Facebook. Have that one line pitch ready to go. So have that ready. And make sure that it's very specific to your target audience, so that when you're messaging things, like if that's not going to work for them, they'll know. You're like, oh, I help modern brands, and like this brand isn't very modern, or like I help tech companies and like they aren't anywhere in the tech space. They'll, even if you couldn't pick up, because sometimes people will say like, I have a client who needs this. And you don't know, like they're not really giving you many details. But when you put that one sentence down and it's very clear as to who you serve and what you do, they'll be able to kind of scope it out and be like, oh, that's not going to work. Or yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you for this person for giving detail. My second thing with that is to always, 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 always. That's a lot of always. Always link your website. I mentioned that before. But when you are posting or commenting on a post, you're not just reaching that person. You're reaching everyone who's there on Facebook scrolling through and they're not saying a word, like the lurkers. Be sure to always link your website so that other people can check it out too. Obviously, I think a lot of people are hesitant to do it because they think that their competition is going to look at their website and see things. And like, of course they are. I'm sure you have too. I have. It's helpful for everyone so you can see how you're different, how you're unique, not just to make yourself like them or to compare yourself like them to them. Make sure that you're linking it just for the exposure alone. Like every time you comment, you should be like, oh, I might not get this job, probably won't, but maybe I'll get a job from it. That's happened to me so many times. Like a lot of the times it's not the person who posted looking for the job that gave me a job. It's someone else that saw it, commented, or messaged me directly and said like, hey, I'd love to work with you, or just went to my contact page. With that being said, we're all in these business groups, right? these general business groups like Society Gal, I'm trying to think, I can't even think of the names, like freelancing groups, freelancing females. Those are the ones you'll probably find me in, right? Society Gal, freelancing females. It's not just the business groups that you want to be in. A lot of the times, those like general business groups are going to be where a lot of people like you are, like your direct competition. They're all hanging out in there. And that's why there's so many comments on those groups. So let's say you're a photographer, okay? You're in these business groups, you're in these photographer groups or just general business groups like that, like Society Gal. And you're like, okay, I'm waiting for people to say that, they need a photographer, and you're all over it. You're right on it all the time. The thing is that there's so many people there. But if you were to be like, who do I work with? Oh, I shoot photography for weddings, like wedding photography. Well, why wouldn't you be in a wedding group? That's where your ideal client, they're all hanging out, and they're going to be asking questions about photographers, or, just general questions about photographers, like what do prices look like for photographers? Like, oh, other brides, can you give me some information? What are your best tips to find one? How do I look through portfolios? Blah, blah, blah. But you are there ready to serve them, and there's not a lot of you in that group, right? Because that group is specific to weddings or brides or whatever. There's not going to be a ton of photographers there. So when someone is looking for one, you'll be able to jump on that. So that's what I'm saying. My point is to get into Facebook groups dedicated to your target audience rather than just general business groups or general networking groups. Go where your clients are. For me, I like to work with wellness brands, with wellness companies, like sustainable fashion, health coaches, things like that. So for me, I could get into a fashion group, like even a fashion bloggers group, right? So that if I wanted to write blogs for fashion and someone would be looking for like guest blogs or just someone to take over the content or to run the social content on their Instagram, which I write. I don't do social media management, but I write copy for social media. So things like that, like going directly to those groups rather than just hanging out in general business groups, which I think are great, especially for networking. And like I said, I found a lot of clients through them. But if you are feeling overwhelmed with the competition and like you're always posting and you're never getting work, go to an area where you can be like the big fish in a small pond. Is that the phrase? Big fish in a small pond? I don't know. I think that's the phrase, but do that. Make sure you're in those groups. And again, have your pitch like down. Always drop your contact information. I would say your website directly, so that typically on your website, you should have a contact option. You should have like your portfolio. You should have everything that you do so that they can see everything. They can go from there. But make sure that you always link that info for someone to contact you, because it may not be them contacting you, but it may be somebody else, or you may get shared to someone else and you don't even know. So that happens quite a bit. The next thing that I say is to follow the trail of Instagram hashtags. So I say this, and I think when people are posting, right, they'll do a lot of posts. Let's say for me, if I was posting on Instagram and I did like hashtag copywriting, hashtag copywriter, like hashtag life of a writer, which sometimes I do those things, but that's the people who are going to be looking at those hashtags, who will follow those hashtags, are going to be people who do what I do. It's not as often that people are going to be like a wedding planner who needs her website copy. They're not going to be like hashtag copywriter on Instagram, right? It's going to be the copywriter who's doing that. So you need to be following hashtags that your ideal client would use. Let's say you are a fitness instructor, or you're a health coach, nutritionist, whatever, right? Let's say that you work with clients who are trying to lose weight. You may comment like fitness instructor, you may hashtag like fitness instructor and things like that. Don't search those. You'll be searching like the things that people who are trying to lose weight will be hashtagging on their posts, right? So maybe they're doing like hashtag new year, new me, hashtag like weight loss journey, or like those are the things that you want to be searching and following, because those are the people who may need your help. Like the person who's like hashtag new year, new me, or hashtag starting my journey, or weight loss. Those are the people who need help doing that. So make sure that you follow those hashtags. And then when you see people doing it, if you don't, I say DM them. That's what I say. Like, it seems like a lot, but you're running your own business. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot sometimes, you guys. Sometimes you have to do like the weird and uncomfortable things until you get to a point where it's just, you're booked out or you have constant referrals, right? That's why you're even listening to this podcast, is because you want to find new ways to find clients. It will be a little bit of work. Follow those hashtags. Build relationships with those people who are using those hashtags. Follow them. I think a lot of people don't want to follow too many people on social media. The most important people to follow are the people that you may end up working with or who may refer you to someone else. So follow those people. Like, who cares? Follow them. If they're doing like weight loss journey, like, oh, comment, let them know how you think it's cool that they're on this journey, how that they can let you know if they need any help, that you have tips. Like, provide that value on your social media, which is a whole nother conversation. Follow the trail of Instagram hashtags that your ideal client is using. Like, think really hard about who your ideal client is and what they would be saying on social media. Okay? They're probably not saying like hashtag looking for a personal trainer. Like, they're not going to be saying that. They're going to be like hashtag losing weight, shredding for the wedding, like something like that. The main goal is to think like your client. Think like your client. Like, whenever you're reaching out to people or you're trying to find clients, like, think like them. Where are they? What are they doing? What are they saying? Find them and then reach out to them with value. Always reach out to them with value. Don't just randomly be like, hey, do you want to work with me? Like, say like, hey, I noticed you were doing this. Did you check? You should see my free guide for this. Like, oh, feel free. I thought it may be helpful. Let me send you a link to it in your DMs. Like, whatever. Be helpful. I think the one thing that all of these methods have in common that we've talked about today is that you're meeting your clients where they are. You're not relying on them to come to you. Like I said when we started this episode, the ideal is always like them to come to you. Like, that's the ideal. Until we are all at a place to where we've built such a great reputation for ourselves and we have such great word of mouth and so many referrals that we never have to go out looking for clients. Like, until we're booked like years out, you're going to have to look for clients. And to do that, you have to think like them, and you really have to be aware of who your ideal client is. Like, that's number one. If you're not sure who they are, spend time figuring that out. Find them where they are. You're meeting them where they are. You're coming to them. You're providing value so that they can work with you. I feel like I've rambled a lot, and I hope it all made sense. That's the episode for today, guys. So, as always, if you have any questions for me, feel free to DM me at the Busy Type Podcast on Instagram. That's at the BIZZY Type Podcast on Instagram. If you aren't comfortable doing Instagram, then go ahead and email me at thebusytypepod@virtualfavor.com. That's the BIZZY Type pod@virtualfavor.com. And please remember to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. That helps a lot so that I can keep doing it. That was today's episode, you guys. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if any of these tips do work for you, if you like them, if you're feeling it. Let me know what worked for you, and if you don't like them, which one didn't work, or which ones you've tried and haven't worked before. So thanks so much. I'll talk to you guys next Monday.